Welcome to Virtually Live, the podcast where we get insights from marketing leaders and event professionals. I'm Ashley, Content Marketing Manager at Kaltura. In today's episode, we're joined by Jon Miller, MarTech entrepreneur and co-founder at Marketo and Engagio, hosted by Nohar Zmora, VP Brand and Strategic Marketing at Kaltura. They discuss the future of building B2B brand experiences and AI's role in new approaches for go-to-market strategies. Enjoy!
Jon, let's start with you telling us a bit about your remarkable track record. What have you been up to these days? And if you can also share with us one big decision that you have made during your career and that has affected greatly your work.
Sure. So, short version of my bio, I think most notably, I studied physics for my undergraduate degree. My mom was a teacher, my dad was an attorney. I didn't grow up in the business world, if you will. And I always assumed that I'd go into academia. So when I was graduating college, I actually applied to and got into various PhD programs for physics. But at the same time, there were all these people doing recruiting for these shiny, fancy jobs in management consulting and investment banking and things like that. So the fateful decision I made was, gosh, I should maybe at least check out that world before I just fall into this world of academia. So I managed to defer my PhD program for a year and got a job in management consulting. Turns out I liked it, and I haven't looked back. But I don't regret studying physics. I think that that sort of very analytical, rigorous way of thinking has helped kind of guide me as a marketer throughout the years.
Thanks for sharing. That's truly impressive. I can also say that Jon is well known for his hilarious dad jokes. So hopefully you'll share, if you wish, one with us. So stay tuned. Whatever you want.
One I can start with. So turns out, Kellogg's hired a new CMO. Turns out that they're in charge of raising brand awareness.
That's good. Awesome. So we're all up for more if you want, but we'll continue with the serious stuff. So Jon, let me ask you pretty bluntly, I'd say. In today's fast-paced environment, we're seeing audience expectations soar and buying realities transform, demand creation and capturing becoming more and more challenging. Does this mean that our old B2B marketing playbook is not relevant anymore? And if so, why?
I think it starts with kind of what are you all experiencing in your day-to-day? I mean, when I talk to various marketing executives, demand gen leaders, what I'm hearing is that it seems really hard. And people are struggling to achieve their goals. People have been told, that they've got to create 20% more pipeline this year with the same budget. And yet they didn't even actually make the goals last year, let alone 20% more. And, the ironic part is, I've spent my entire career trying to make it easier for marketers. And there's all these new technologies and new best practices that are supposed to be making it easier. And the reality is it's just not working. I think we're all feeling that. Now, clearly the economy has got something, at play here. And I don't want to discount that. But I do think that we've also kind of, oversaturated on the same set of tactics, right? Marketers and SDRs, we're all guilty of the same thing. Teach us anything that works, and everybody's going to start doing it until it stops working. Tragedy of the commons. And that's what's going on. So, we all learned, create content and have ebooks and capture leads and then nurture them. And then send them to the SDRs to follow up and, make the whole thing really measurable. And it worked for a while until it doesn't work, as much anymore. I do think we need to find some new approaches, that reflect the economy, reflect changing buyer expectations, reflect, a new generation of younger buyers. Also, lots of reasons why I think what I would call the Marketo playbook that I helped propagate 15 years ago, it needs to evolve.
And I also heard you saying that I think we all know the 5% rule of thumb that are currently in the market to buy our product, but actually in economic downtimes, we've all been experiencing in the last few years, we're actually looking even at 1 to 2% that are now at the market, so even more so. But let me ask you, is there something that you do think we should maintain in our old traditional B2B playbook? Ebooks, SDR reach outs, nurture email, any of that? Or not at all?
Obviously, there's lots of pieces we're going to keep. I mean, people are still going to do webinars and they're still going to create hopefully relevant and engaging content. But the one that I think is probably the most interesting piece of the new playbook that's also part of the old playbook is what's becoming called today signal-based go-to-market, signal-based selling, which is how do you know if they're in the 5%? Whether that's intent-based, first-party data or third-party intent data. Even things like what job postings they're putting on LinkedIn. There's lots of interesting ways to find those buying signals. I think what we need to remember is any one of those is not necessarily predictive by itself. It's when you can combine a bunch of signals together that you start to have at least more of a clue, and that's important because you still have to train your SDRs and your salespeople right. If I tell you this account is showing intent, that doesn't mean there's a guaranteed meeting on the other side. It just means your time is better spent with that account than another one.
So let's dive deeper into one of your worlds of expertise, marketing automation. And you alluded a bit to the advancements you think needed in marketing automation and mainly in the content approach used around it to allow us to continue building strong pipelines. So let me ask you how, in your opinion, brands can effectively leverage better content, more personalized content in general, and video content. We're all into video here specifically to enhance marketing operation efforts and to better engage their audiences.
Yeah, I think audiences is the key word. I think in the traditional playbook, we were all focused on generating a lead. Register for my webinar, get a lead. Register for my event, get a lead. Download my ebook, get a lead. What if we sort of flip our thinking to be more like, how do we, get people to want to subscribe, to our content? Just like the New York Times, some people will, pay money to subscribe to get access to sort of premium content and things like that. I think it's a good model to think about, and it does sort of answer part of the should I gate content or not, right? Debate, which is like, generally don't gate your content. Have lots of ungated content that's useful and valuable for your target audiences, speaking to the 95% that are in market. But at the same time, create some premium experiences and premium content that your ICP will actually want to subscribe to. And that can be exclusive events. It can be, kind of deeper dives into specific things. It can be in-person events. I'm actually a big fan of merch. My daughter went to the Taylor Swift concert. Everybody wants, Taylor Swift merch. Can you create that desire for stuff around your brand that your ICP would actually want to subscribe to?
So I'll ask just one more question, small one related to ABM, just because my CRO is sitting here in front of us. So you can't talk about ABM without talking about the relationship between sales and marketing. So from what you have seen with the many companies you've been involved with, is there one model, a model that has proven itself?
Yeah. I think it also relates back to just kind of the new playbook also. I mean, the old playbook, the model of sales and marketing, was like a relay race. Marketing would generate a lead and you'd hand it off to the SDR as like a baton who would hand it off to sales. There are a lot of companies where literally they would shut off marketing when there was an open opportunity, that was created at the account. I think that's an outdated model. I think a better model, whether you're doing ABM or any modern go-to-market, looks more like a football or a soccer team, depending on where you live, where you have these players in different positions, forwards and fullbacks and whatnot, but they're passing the ball back and forth as the ball moves up and down the field. Sometimes one position might be a little bit more responsible and the other one's supporting. The other time, one's a little bit more responsible and the other one's, supporting. I just think it's a better metaphor, and it has interesting implications, right? So this is where I'm going to mix up my sports analogies, and now I'm going to talk about American football. I think that one of the best practices I've ever seen for getting sales and marketing working together more effectively is to implement what I would call an account stand-up, or but think of it as like your pre-play huddle. Have a meeting where it's a sales rep and a marketer and an SDR if you have one, and that's it. There's no management. This is not a forecast call. This is a meeting for the marketer and the salesperson to talk about their accounts, what's happening at those accounts, and what plays do we want to run together. Marketing should bring the playbook, like, hey, here's things we could run, but ultimately the sales rep should be like, this is what we're going to do. SDR, you're going to call these people. I'm going to call these people. Marketing, you're going to do this. It's not rocket science, but there's just like in football, you wouldn't run a play without having a huddle. Same thing should apply here.
We need to touch on what we started saying, our main disruptor here. So AI obviously holds immense potential in revolutionizing quite everything in the B2B marketing arena. But your view is actually quite different and interesting and unique, differentiating between the short-term hype and the longer-term underestimated influence that you're envisioning for AI on marketing. So I'm happy to hear from you a bit more on how do you envision AI role on content creation, content repurposing, marketing operation, and demand gen.
Yeah, I think most of the short-term hype is in content creation and content repurposing, and that's cool. I do it, you do it. It's a useful, valuable thing. But I'm sort of more excited about other use cases. Another one that I think lots of people are excited about is the ability to personalize at scale, right? Don't just send one email. Everybody should get a different email. The problem is we're not there yet. Nobody today does or should trust an AI to write an email that you're going to send to a customer that doesn't have a human review yet. So you see it in sort of SDR use cases where there's an SDR review first, but we're not there on marketing yet. Maybe we get there when the AI gets better in the future. Maybe we need some more workflows to enable that personalization at scale. So I think that is part of the future. We're just not there yet today. The other two areas where I'm excited for AI, first off is, we were just talking about this before, is how can we start figuring out what is the right action to take with any individual at any account to move that relationship forward? How can we look across our whole library of all our video assets? And when it's time to send our weekly nurture to this customer, each one should get the snippet that's sort of exactly right for them based on their interests and their profile. Great use case for AI. And the last one that I'm excited about and I'm thinking about personally for my next business is in the user interface. These tools, marketing tools today and lots of enterprise software is too hard to use, including marketing tools. You shouldn't have to drag and drop when building a campaign in Marketo, for example. You should be able to just tell it what you want to do. I'm putting together a 3-city roadshow. Go make it for me and have the AI draft the campaigns for you, just like it could draft a blog post.
So what you can suggest to everyone here with us today, either a tool, an approach, a methodology that has helped you make better and faster decisions, either on a personal or team or organizational level?
Yeah, as you know, I had to think about this one a little bit. And I decided I wanted to share one that has helped me become a better manager and leader. Which is inspired by a book called Turn the Ship Around, which is written by a U.S. naval submarine captain. And when he inherited the ship, it was the worst performing boat in the Navy. And what he realized is that they were all waiting to be told what to do by the superior officers, because it was this very command and control hierarchy. So he tried to train the sailors to stop asking for permission, and instead, to tell him what they intended to do. Remember, he's in charge of a nuclear submarine. He can't let these young cadets run around just do whatever they want with a nuclear submarine. But he could get them to say, no, you're on the ground, you know what you're doing, you decide what you should do. But because I'm still in charge of the summaring, you tell me. Tell me what you intend to do. And when, by the way, I have some experience you don't have. Maybe when you tell me, I can say, well, did you think about X? And just have a little guidance there. And then the best ones over time learned to say, I intend to do X because of A, B, and C. They anticipate the questions that the captain would ask. And then the captain eventually gets to the point where you'd be like, great, just make it so. The person feels empowered and the captain's job is easier. So I've tried to take that lesson into my own life as a leader.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John. Fantastic session. It was a pleasure for me personally, and I'm sure for our audience as well.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you to our guest, Jon Miller, and thank you for tuning in. Join us next time for another episode of Virtually Live, the podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.